So let it be written. So let it be done. This is Tabletop Terrors. I am joined with Barker of Be a Better Game Master, and tonight we're going to create infinite weapon ideas, asterisk, for your RPG. How you doing tonight, Barker?
I'm always good, Tim. Always, always.
Beautiful,
Especially
man.
tonight.
Especially tonight. Now, the first thing is this. There is a link in the description. It's important that you go to absolutetabletop.com and you click on either the PDF or the physical copy of Weapon Master. At the top of the description, you can download your sample pages for this book absolutely free. No logins, no nonsense. You just click on it and it's yours. That's what we're going to be going over tonight, as well as explaining a little more about this book. And so we will be checking in on the chat. Barks, if I could ask you to, in between, maybe help me out with that.
For sure.
And, any questions you see in there that I might miss?
Yeah, if anyone wants to ask any questions that I'll accidentally skip over, feel free to put them in the chat. And
yeah, man, that's the plan.
Easy.
So no softballs. I'm going to start out with some hard stuff. Is Weapon Master 2 just a sequel?
So what's funny is, and I want to put this out there because Tim, we always do little interview style things, and we always surprise each other with whatever the questions are. We don't, we don't, like he said, there's no softies here. Everything's a slider. So
yes, and we have not discussed these questions at all. I have prepped a bunch of stuff, and he has no idea what I'm going to ask him.
Great. I think it's far more than a sequel. I feel like to start in the ways where it is a sequel, because it is called Be a Better Weapon Master 2, is that it's got a bunch of weapons in it and a bunch of weapon abilities in it, just like the first one. So if you want cool weapon descriptions, cool weapon abilities, you are set. It's also got a wicked name generator that, Tim, we might talk about later on, that you developed, that is absolutely incredible, similar to Weapon Master 1. But this book is nearly twice the size, and that's not just weapons. Like, not only does it have more weapons, like future weapons and modern weapons, and we even throw shields in there, but and at the end of the day, the goal for me was to make a book that stopped being about the weapons and was more like, listen, I want weapons to give to the players, yes, but I want to design a cool crime scene. I want to design a battlefield strewn with weapons. I want to create an NPC weaponsmith for the characters to run into. I want to spark story and plot ideas and character-driven choices in a system and setting agnostic book. And so what we did is we, instead of just putting weapons in a book, we added a brand new section of the book called the methods. So now there's the methods section and the madness section. And these methods are all just toss a fistful of dice and create basically whatever the method is talking about. In the samples that you're looking at, we have prophecies that you can generate for a weapon. We have I'm scrolling down there. We include some axes there, but we also have like poisons and toxins and weapon treatments that if you want to add some kick to the weapon that your characters are already using, you can not only do that, but do it in ways that spark story ideas, creative ideas that tie the game into new elements that seamlessly move forward into a long campaign. That was the goal. And in my opinion, that's why it's no longer a sequel. It's turned into something completely different.
And I agree with everything you're saying, especially, having the ability to be behind the scenes and help edit some of these things. It was more exciting than you can imagine, opening up these different docs to edit them and find out like, oh, I can't wait to use this. I can't wait to use this. I can't wait to use this, because it's not just about the weapon. It's about the weapon story and history. And I feel like the thing that I love the most, you did things that I would never do. I probably wouldn't have done the crime scene. That's such a cool take. And it's just such a unique thing. And it's important to know too, that in addition to the methods being these awesome roll tables, all of them have at least a few breakout boxes that you're very used to with that Be a Better Game Master style, to really get the creative juices flowing. And even as I'm editing these boxes, I'm like, that's a really good idea. I think I'm going to try that. So when you're editing the book and you have too many ideas to try, then I think it's going to be a good book.
You know what? I think I can subscribe to that belief system as well. And you mentioned the breakout boxes, which I appreciate. One thing I completely spaced on, which might even be the first thing that I should have said, is beautiful art. This book, we have had some amazing art that has been put together for all the Be a Better Game Master books, but this book in particular has full color pieces for the first time, outside of maps and whatnot. So it's a new experience, and it was one of the things that came after Oath of the Frozen King. I think it was like, how can we make this into something that's acceptable now for an absolute tabletop book?
Yeah, and that's actually, that's one of the things that, I wanted to talk about, which is, how does it feel coming up with a book following Oath of the Frozen King, a successful Kickstarter? But before we get into that, what I want to talk about is, let's use this thing. Let's show some people this thing in action. So we'll go to the sample pages. What do you want to start with?
So I want to build a poison. I want to build a poison, a toxin, or a deadly treatment for a weapon that I want to use. And I want somebody in the chat to roll the dice for me. So, someone roll a D4 to kick it off, I think. And if that's something that works for you, that way we can ensure it's random.
So let's do this. These are the rolls that we're going to need. We're going to need a D4, a D6, a D8, and a D10. Put the dice denomination you're rolling, colon, the roll. So a D10, colon, 5, whatever. And we're just going to pick the first ones we see. Again, we need a D4, a D6, a D8, and a D10. Roll away. While they do that, I would like for you to roll a D20.
Cool.
And you're going to roll the axe. So you're going to pick the axe's physical features. While that's going on, I am going to roll the D12, which is the weapon's special ability. So we're going to multitask rolling here.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, I love it already. This is, in my mind, one of some of the simplest answers on the roll tables are the best. I rolled an 8 on axes. So the head of this axe has a charred hole burned through it, the souvenir of an encounter with a vicious firearm. So some sort of firearm blasted a hole through the head of this axe.
That's fantastic. And so I rolled on the special weapon abilities, and I got a 6. This axe is brutally durable and sharp, and useful for smashing more powerful locks, as it is for splitting heads. So I love that this thing's durable, which to me speaks to how it survived a firearm.
Yeah, it's a bulky, sturdy weapon, no matter what it has to go through. God, there's a lot of numbers here. So the first person to give us a number was Rob from Performance Check. And we are going to go with his 3 and say that the poison in question is tasteless, odorless, and nearly impossible to see. This gaseous toxin is made to be carefully wafted and settled over a weapon of choice before combat. A single mistake in the process could prove costly. Okay, so awesome. Now this is something that, this is a method where we kind of take a weapon from the madness and we can add this poison to it. Something I want to throw out there, and we'll explore it later. Some of these methods involve the weapon itself and really embrace it in a way that incorporates it as part of the storyline.
Right.
Oh, nice. People are also doing names and stuff. All right, so we're going to move right along. The next number was on, let's see, where's the D6 one? The first D6 I see is 4 from M Famous. So we have that the poison is found in multiple small capsules contained in a cold iron bottle. Medicine of a more malignant nature, which will take some more time to break down to apply to a weapon. So now imagine we've taken this gaseous form and we've put it into these little capsules like it's supposed to be swallowed, maybe as a suicide pill or an assassin or something like that. But if you want to use it on your weapon, you'll have to disassemble it.
It's hard for me to not go in these directions, as soon as I hear this stuff. So now I'm concocting a villain. And here's what I imagine. Very similar to, if you've ever seen, there's a recent James Bond movie. I don't want to spoil it, but I'll just say that it involves a cyanide capsule. And if you've seen the film, you'll know what I'm talking about. The thing I'm imagining is perhaps this villain was charged with, basically ordered to take the capsule. This was a suicide mission. But once he or she got there, realized that the information that they were given was wrong and had a paradigm shift. So instead, they didn't take the capsule, and they're using those capsules that they are essentially going out, finding other agents, killing them, taking their capsules and using it on the weapon to kill the next agent.
I love it. That's perfect. That is awesome. And that's the whole point of this book, is to be a catalyst for those spurring ideas. And we're not even to the D8 yet. We don't even know what the poison does, Tim.
We don't even know what the poison does. I love it. So tell me, what does the poison do?
Gas. It makes you giggle over and over. All right, so D8 from Nick. He rolled a 5 on it. So when used against the enemy, a large cloud of white vapor explodes from the point of contact. Any exposed flesh will be frozen away by the burning cold fumes. Breathing the toxin would mean frozen lungs, to be sure. So this gaseous, settling substance, when it contacts the blood, perhaps, or the skin, the flesh, a point of impact, it explodes outward like a white plume and freeze dries flesh.
I love that. Oh man, I love that.
This is rough.
That's so good.
These dice are like, you know what? Let's just go brutal. Let's show them just the most brutal thing.
Let's kill everyone.
Let's do it. All right. So the next one I see, and I keep going back to the top to the first D10 from Grant. Yeah. Grant rolled an 8, and this is the only way to treat the wound. The only way to treat it. And I'm hoping that this is a difficult one to put together, because my favorite things are when they don't quite make sense and you have to work as a game master to make them.
Sure.
D10. Won't be too bad. The only way to treat the wound is with immediate amputation or removal of the affected area. As soon as this toxin gets into the heart through the bloodstream, it's game over, man. So yes, game over, man.
Man in
So not only, let's say you do apply this to a weapon. Okay, well, first of all, let's go back to your initial storyline idea, Tim. Sure. If you're taking this as a suicide pill, you are freezing your insides up. That's sure death. So that makes sense as a suicide pill, and we can totally run with that for like you said, an order of assassins, that sort of thing, who are maybe caught.
I think it's important that it's a secret what it does. I would imagine that the order tells people that it's going to be quick and painless, and then it's not. And maybe, just kind of crafting here, there are 2 agents, and you're never supposed to take the pill together. You're always supposed to take it separately for this reason. They take it next to each other, and, his buddy Riggs, sees Murtaugh take the pill and freeze, and ice is coming out of his mouth, and it's awful. And he's like, oh, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't know about that. Or what I'm tempted to do is make them all capsules and make them all do different things. Every agent has a different one. And so, but you touched on something, don't tell your players what it does. Sure. That's for your knowledge. You wait till they hit somebody and then you describe what it does. And then, if they hit somebody all along, if it's on their left arm, if someone is hit with this poison, this toxin, that's something you can amputate as per, the role on how to treat the wound. If it's like all along the side, maybe it's not. Like some of these things you have to consider, like, man, this could be pretty brutal. And there are some things, some breakout boxes and whatnot about how to reskin things in less grisly ways. But I love that it just went all in first roll.
Yeah. And players are always going to surprise you, and I think one of the most important things is that if someone says, half of my arm is frozen, can I chisel it off? I'll say, yeah, what's that look like? Yep. And so that kind of leads into something, that's our first generated weapon. And already I feel like we have worlds of story threads.
Andre, I think it's Andre Torres, though I can't see the last name, but he might be our artist. But he said, if the axe is unbreakable, just think of the gun that shot through it. So right? I already want to know about this other weapon. I already want to switch to the fantasy firearms section and roll on that.
And to be clear, if that is the Andre we're thinking of, he is the artist which I'm going to make sure to touch on that in a little bit specifically, but he is the artist who is masterfully crafting all of the weapon art that you see in the book. So in your sample, you're going to see a few really cool weapons. Andre, he did every bit of those.
Yep.
They are
just
amazing.
really good. Really good. Really
one of the things that I love about this book is what I call specific generalities. But before I go into that, I just want to remind everybody to go to absolutetabletop.com and click on the Weapon Master PDF or the print book. In the description of both of those, the very top, it says check out 3 sample sections of the book here. You can download it immediately. No login, nothing like that. So it's a PDF. Get yours and follow along. What I mean by specific generalities is that, and Barker, you taught me this, and this has really influenced my writing. I make sure to look and say, okay, could this be used everywhere? If so, it needs to be changed. It should be a little specific, meaning a lot of random generators are so general because they're worried about being useful and making sense in every way that I feel like it neuters them in a way. This is this kind of purposeful dissonance where there are specific things called out with utter disregard for your setting, your story, whatever, and it expects you, the game master, to fix it, make it work, and put together the pieces. So do you purposefully write like that, or is that something you just kind of accidentally do?
I think, you know what? I think Oath of the Frozen King. It's so funny. You're like, Barker, you taught me this. And I'm like, Tim, you taught me this. No, Oath of the Frozen King showed me what the most easily reskinnable thing ever looked like. And it taught me how to turn, something like an NPC you thought you trusted backstabs you into, at the last possible second, Peter Baelish grabs you and holds a dagger to your throat. That's a specific thing that is a backstab, sure, but there are hundreds of different types of backstabs. That one offers something a little bit more specific, so it has to do with a dagger. You can, as a game master, I can read that and immediately turn it into something. Some sort of, if you add a few specifics here and there, I find that it is more easily reskinnable than if you just do a basic concept like a backstab or a plot twist.
And James and I always refer to like online generators that are helpful, but that are so disparate that they don't make any sort of sense. They require just as much work as coming up with your own stuff. Like when they're in one hallway, there's like a dire badger, and another one, it's like a lich vampire. It's like
in one hallway there is a dire vampire. And
right. Like, and you're like, huh? So I love that. And you're going to find it, and you'll see it on these sample pages as you go through. Everything is just specific enough to give you the exact tone that we're trying to strike you with for inspiration, but general enough that it can be plugged into any world with relative ease. So I thought perhaps we could go to the chat a little bit and answer any specific questions. Perfect. So if you do have any, if you've posted them already, it's easier if you post them again. So Barks, if you could just proctor that for a second and just kind of maybe even cut and paste them somewhere. So if you have any
putting out ideas or something instead of asking questions, it's almost like they're already excellent game masters who are just looking to throw out somebody. What are these weirdos who know what they're doing?
Who are just looking to be better?
Just look at their name. They're already.
Hey, I got a book for that. Listen, I got a book for that. My cousin wrote it.
All right, so we got some sample names for this weapon. I'll throw some of these out. The Masher is one of my favorites because I do imagine this thing is being used to break locks. This is what I'm using every time we're in a dungeon and there's a big lock. I'm gonna say, hey GM, it's got this special ability, so can I try it? And then use that ability to move it forward. And the Masher is like, that reminds me of potatoes, man.
It does. And I think of, I used to be afraid of simple names, but I realized that it's what people use in real life. And it pulls together this real big sense of reality, because if there's a specific bridge or a specific, like you've used the reference before, people will call the forest the thicket because it's what it is. And it's easier to convey that. Real people aren't worried about lore. They're worried about ease of communication. And so something like the Masher or the Hound or the Wall, like that has found a place in me. And there's just a good enough balance in these weapon names to where there's plenty of that. And there's also plenty of crazy stuff like, you know, Rhaegar's Render.
Exactly. Rhaegar's Render. We actually do have a question.
Sure.
And people should ask more if you're interested in doing such a thing before we do some more rolling in the book. How long is this book, and will it just be digital? We'll be announcing the page count in the coming days before the release. Right now, it's looking at. I don't know. Do we want to say?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'll say about 70 pages is what we're looking at right now. Probably a little bit more. So. Definitely the largest Be a Better Game Master supplement, other than the world building one that's over 100 pages long.
Sure.
And I think that's what people are going to be able to expect from future books as well. It is not just digital. Actually, we're doing pre-orders for both the digital PDF version and the physical version now. The physical version will be delivered early in 2018, but on December 15th, the PDF version, which you do get when you pre-order the physical version, will be available for you, absolutely. And if you pre-order, doesn't matter physical or PDF, you will save money. It is discounted for people who are pre-ordering it. I've always loved the idea of helping the people who have helped us first and foremost, and this is a cool way to be able to kind of give to you guys or help you guys out in supporting us, which thank you very much for doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the pre-orders are live right now, and that's also where if you go to absolutetabletop.com, there are actually countdown timers because James is a baller. And he put countdown timers to see how long you have before the pre-order is over. The book is going to come out on December 15th. Now, as with all of our books, we're going to make sure that the book is perfect before we send out printed copies. So you don't expect this book to ship on the 15th. The digital copies you'll get immediately on the 15th. Everyone will get their pre-orders. The physical books we expect to be after Christmas sometime, just because we want to proof them and make sure they're excellent, 70 pages. So if you pre-order the physical copy, we are a publisher who gives you the PDF for free. And not every publisher does that. So if you want to get the physical book, but you need it sooner than Christmas, we have you covered there.
Totally. Someone asks, oh wow, someone asks, am I a new GM? Is it good for me? It's good for anyone who wants to tell a better story around the table. And it's good for anyone who wants to introduce story elements to your players that they can play off of and build a story with you. That, if you are interested in being a better storyteller, better game master at the table with the players, absolutely, it's the book for you. I would say.
And one of the things that I think is really cool is it doesn't matter the tone of your world, the system you're using. You could be using Dungeons and Dragons or Fate or anything. This book is system agnostic. So there are no hard mechanics in it. It's all about inspiration. So this book can be used with any RPG system. Or if you don't play RPGs at all and somehow you stumble on this and you're a writer or you make comic books or manga, this is still an ultimate tool for story creation based around weapons.
That on top of Nick's question, is there a variability to the power levels of the weapons? I would say that you are the arbiter, complete arbiter. As Tim has just said, you decide what balance is. In that poison that we just created, that poison unleashes a fume that freezes your skin off. We don't include any mechanics on that roll table. Basically, you decide, listen, is that going to be ice damage? Maybe, if we're playing Fate, you'll work it out in a different way. If you're playing D&D 5e, you're going to work it out in a different way. That's up to you. The trick is to get inspired and start creating these things and taking two ideas that might seem separate and combining them to turn them into something bigger.
Exactly. And we had a really good question. It's Xanos Nightshade. He says, is the Masher an intelligent weapon? So here's what Barker had the idea to do, and I'm totally with him. Barker's going to go to a page we have not shared yet, and he's going to pull up a really cool section on how to make sentient weapons. Of course, we had to include how to make sentient weapons. So Barker, while you pull that up, what I was going to do is just screen share some of these pages for anyone who hasn't had an opportunity to download yet, and just talk about some of the just the methods and the madness just a little bit, especially the madness. I think I want to dig into that a little more.
Perfect. Yes, absolutely.
Sweet. And again, don't forget to go and get your free sample. It's in the description or absolutetabletop.com. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. This has actually been really cool so far.
Quite a few people jumping in and asking questions and talking, and
it's beautiful. So
good and evil weapons. Oh yeah, it's we try to leave everything really open to your interpretation, Josh. If you
exactly,
you can choose, and we'll show a little bit of that here, I think.
Yeah, it's hang on one second. Was it showing?
Do you want me to roll for?
Oh no, there we go. I'm just being a grandpa. Hold on.
You're just being a grandpa. You know what this is a good time for, Tim?
There we go.
This is a good time for. Rob Coletta, I told him I would be sneaky and say the word defibrillation as many times as possible during the stream. And I even said that I would get you to say it. So can we just take like 3 seconds and say the word over and over again together?
I think that would be great. What do you think? Like, do it 3 times on 3?
Yeah, sounds good. On 3.
All right.
1, 2, 3. Defibrillation, defibrillation, defibrillation. Defibrillation.
Defibrillation. Sneaky.
There you go. Ah, there it is. See, there you go, Rob.
There we go.
You thought I was going to be sneaky about
it. So I'm scrolling past the defibrillation section. You'll see here go some of the breakout boxes we're talking about. Beautiful art by Andre, which, just to give you an idea, Andre Torres is creating 40 plus full color renderings from everything from rapiers, swords, shields, future weapons. It's going to be amazing. So as I scroll past these breakout boxes and these methods, let's get to some madness here.
They're also really quick. They're also all the art pieces are based on items that can be found in the madness section of the book.
Very good.
So they're not just random weapons. They're weapons that have been described.
In fact, let's talk a little bit about our process. So the way we wanted it to happen is, I'll stop screen sharing just for a second here. If you have an artist who's going to create 40 pieces, you have to make sure that they're inspired to do so. So meaning, yeah, even if it's paid work, you still want them to have their heart in it so that they come up with some really incredible stuff. The way that we did it is we showed him the work in progress of every section and basically said, pick the ones that inspire you. Pick a list of like 4 or 5, whatever. From there, we'll pick the ones we want you to draw. So we made sure that he picked, and it was so perfect too, because every single one he picked, I was like, oh yeah, that would be one of the ones I would pick. And
my favorite was in crossbows. He selected like 12 to 14. Andre, I love this. I love it. Like, these are my favorites. I picked 14 of them. Oh man, well, you know what? Have your choosing.
Out of 20, to be clear, he picked like 14. So when I show you these axes, and when I screen share again, I'm going to show you that it is, to me anyway, so cool the way that this works, because the combinations are almost innumerable, truly. Let's look at here. These are the axes, and you first roll the physical feature. Now, I love that you basically take a D20 and a D12 at the same time, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll up a new axe, and then Barks, I'm going to throw it to you, and we're going to make that new axe sentient. Okay?
Perfect.
So here is my D20 and my D12.
So you're rolling a D20 and a D12 in the madness, and then I'm going to roll a D4, D68, and D10 in the methods. It's almost like you can roll one of every die and get anything you want out of anywhere in the book.
You see what we did there? And we do call that the fistful of dice method. You can grab one of every polyhedral die and drop it down, and then just go down the list.
I thought Shadowrun was the fistful of dice method. That's what or Exalted.
Yes.
All right. Now, go ahead. What did you get?
Well, I was going to say, so I have a perfectly formed head of an elven battle axe that has been shaped into the likeness of a revered leaf, commonly seen growing around the woodland realm. Okay. Now, traditionally, this axe can only change owners if it is won in battle. If it's not, it mysteriously returns to its rightful owner within 24 hours. Now, this next part, I'm going to throw to Barker, and he's going to roll in the section where we create weapon sentience.
Got it. The section about making weapons with personality. And the first thing that we've got is that this weapon shows its life essence through a booming voice exerted from a large cartoonish-looking mouth that protrudes from the weapon itself. Further investigation reveals that everyone hears a different version of the voice. It perfectly takes on the boisterous sound of someone from each listener's past. So it is a mouth that forms on this axe. Now, here's something I want people to consider. That right there is like the first thought that someone might think is, we're about to get a candlestick out of Beauty and the Beast here. You know, this is where. What if I'm running a serious campaign? What if that's something I don't want? Easy thing to do. Make it that there's no mouth. It's just the voice, and you hear it inside your head. Or you can make it so it sounds the booming, boisterous voice that's heard by someone is maybe someone that they don't have good memories about. It's someone, maybe a villain from their past, and so it's ominous every time they speak up. But I'm going to stick with it, and I'm going to continue with that. This kind of beautiful elven axe that is fashioned, the head of which is like a sharpened leaf. It becomes sentient in that very, very blatant way. Above all else, the weapon longs to feel the energetic strength of arcane infusion. It remains perfectly satisfied when frequently enchanted. So my question for you, Tim, is this weapon already, you said that it only takes on a new owner when won in combat.
Yes.
In my mind, that is related to wanting to be infused with this magical ability. To me, being claimed by an owner, what do you call that in like World of Warcraft? When the weapon attaches to you, it links to you. It's like part of your.
It's bound.
I'm not
soul-bound.
Bound, yeah, soul-bound, right? It's bound to you. That to me is like an enchantment on the weapon. That's an enchantment saying this can't be used by anybody. So I think that this weapon wants people to fight over it. I think this weapon wants people to win it in combat over and over and over again as many times as possible.
Yes, and I think already, what I do when I hear stuff like this is I immediately start thinking about what kind of a society would surround this weapon. I'm just thinking about the elves, and it's just amazing. And already, I don't even think you've rolled on all of the tables in that method section, right? There's still like two more.
Yeah, here, I'll run through the other one.
We have given you the max dialed to 11 in the book. You could roll on just one, and that could be enough for the tone of your game. Or high fantasy, sword and sorcery. We've got it all. You just roll on the different tables, choosing which one. And it hits every tone, every style of game, and I love that.
I think that that's the ultimate goal, is just it sparks. Everything's a spark. The next thing, if you want to know what the weapon's personality is, I would
love to know what this weapon's personality is.
Now, it's quiet, dark, and determined. Oftentimes aloof, lost in thought about its own aims and desires. So, if this is a boisterous-mouthed weapon that is also quiet, dark, and determined, I think it chooses when it speaks. And I like the idea that the voice that it picks is not only someone from every character's past, but it's someone that they don't necessarily enjoy hearing from. It's a more sinister side.
So good. So many opportunities. And I think it'd be really cool, like you said, holding all this stuff close to the vest as a game master, and then when the time is right, reveal it piece by piece. Like when they first get this weapon, it doesn't have to have a big old blabbermouth. This can be revealed at a really inopportune time.
Yes. Oh, wait. So, all right. So there are a lot of questions here, but one of is, if it gets power from becoming enchanted, does that mean it can possibly lose its enchantments as it devours them? I love it. Yeah, absolutely.
When I was editing that section, I almost added a piece, but then I thought, nah, the way that I would run that is that it absolutely does. It essentially digests them. It eats them. and they're gone. So it needs to eat, say, every week or every 3 days, whatever. And if it doesn't, then it starts acting ornery. And that's when it starts telling you those dark things, basically to, at this point, try to convince you to go and get it in enchantment, basically bugging you in a voice you don't want to hear until you go out and do what it says.
Yes. Yes. My favorite table in this also on that note, and it happens to be one of my favorite tables in a few of the methods. It's the one thing the party won't expect is table. And it's kind of like a cool little plot twist to throw into your game. And an example is for this one that I rolled a 3. One thing the party won't expect is the heist. A skilled group is after this weapon and will stop at nothing to recover it. The team is under heavy rules of engagement, however. Not a single casualty is permitted. And so already I'm like, well, wait. Who else wants it? Why do they want it? Of course, I know the reason that they want it. It's the reason that this weapon has been broody and aloof and lost in its own thoughts. They want to bring it. They want to bring it back into the fold and enchant it again and again to unleash its true power. Maybe they want to activate a prophecy on it, Tim, and we can go to the prophecy method and come up with a prophecy about it or whatnot. Lots of methods.
It's so easy to just, in the best way, get lost in this book and just flip through from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. And that's not even including some of the really cool stuff in there that we haven't revealed yet. There are other methods that we're going to have in the book that will allow you to generate infinite weapons. We have some more art secret as of now from Nate Vanderzee, who was featured in Campaign Master 1. We've come up with kind of a clever way to incorporate his art, I think, and make it infinitely inspirational. But Chad Stevens, really good question. He says, how applicable might this be for modern or sci-fi weapons? I'm really proud to say that we knew and honestly, Barker, one of the first conversations we had when we said, yes, let's do this was gotta do shields, gotta do sci-fi weapons. And then you said, gotta do modern weapons. We were just immediately saying these were sections that were must haves. And so why did you want to include, especially like modern weapons and sci-fi weapons? Why was that important this time around?
While I answer that question, who's that who asked? That was Chad. Chad, go ahead and roll a d20 and a d12 for me while I answer this question. My main reason for definitely wanting future weapons and fantasy firearms and modern weapons and shields, which was your idea, is just because they should have been in Weapon Master 1. In my mind, I'm like, if I could go back and do Weapon Master 1 better and make it Weapon Master 2 and add all these methods, what would I add to it? I would add the future weapons, the modern weapons, all these things, more improvised weapons. Wait till you see the improvised weapons. In my mind, I wanted people to realize that, we're not just going to Middle Earth. Sometimes. Okay, Chad rolled a 13 and a 5. So I'm going to pause that thought, go over here to the future weapons section, and I will say that vicious blades emerge telescopically from the knuckles of this power steel gauntlet. The barcode and logo of some infamous band of mercenaries is emblazoned on the palm. And scientists have been hard at work developing a modular device attachment on this weapon, which has the ability to absorb and harness the energies of the most powerful galactic storms. So that is what it's the same thing as any other madness section, any other weapon, but it's tailored towards future. We also have modern weapons, which are tailored towards anything from something you can like find a knife that you can find on a website that has a dragon emblazoned on it, or something like
fleamarketninjas.net.
Yeah, fleamarketninjas.net.
Mallninjas.gov.
Mall ninjas. I'd like to get a kukri with the word courage engraved on it.
In kanji. But yes, exactly. And I was making a stupid joke over the fact that you said you can have, you said these knives all the way to a weapon from like World War II or like a firearm.
Yeah.
And there's even in some of the methods sections, one of them, when talking about like finding a weapon of note, there's actually an entry on the roll table that is basically finding a future weapon in a fantasy setting. Like the description is like, you know, the corpse of the person killed is dotted with these strange burn marks. The only witness is a boy no more than a dozen years old who claims it was some, you know, strange looking black weapon that shot lasers of fire or something. You know, the idea is dude found a blaster in the fantasy realm, and we kind of thought, come on, rule it cool.
Yeah, well, and we always, that's the thing, is rules. We make rules for ourselves, and somewhere along the lines we decided that you couldn't have blasters in fantasy games, and that's silly. But it's only silly to a certain extent. It's not silly when there might be one of them somewhere and you don't know who's got it and they're killing people with it. All of a sudden you've created a story that can last at least 3 to 4 sessions. I mean, just however many you want.
Exactly.
And fractalize on its own.
So 1 minute quick spoiler for a cartoon show from like 2001, maybe even earlier than that, probably earlier than that. Highlander cartoon show. Okay. I saw it. I would watch it before I would go to school, and I watched it many episodes. Finale.
This was last week.
This last week. I'm like, this is a remote. Finale. So stop listening for just a second if you care about the Highlander cartoon from the 90s. They're talking about this mystical force, this mystical force. And when they find it and finally reveal it, it's a gun. Because it was set, you know, in a time where guns didn't exist. And so I just think that's what I think of when I think of that plot. So
there's just an amazing quote that everybody knows that I'll butcher right here, that basically, you know, magic is indistinguishable from technology. It's just, they're basically the same thing. It just depends on, you know, what level you are at when you see the technology. And so I love the idea of taking science fiction things, modern things, putting them in fantasy settings, and vice versa, mixing some things up and seeing what happens, for sure.
So I want to just remind everybody, if you have not yet done so, you can go get free samples of this book, absolutetabletop.com. There have been a couple of questions as to whether or not we are doing physical books. Yes, we are. We are, Dustin specifically asked, can I get a hard copy? You can pre-order your hard copy right now. We will ship them hopefully in January, but we'll ship them as soon as the book is proofed and ready. So go get your free sample, no login, just download it. It's a PDF link. But if you want to pre-order the PDF or the hard copy, you can also do that on absolutetabletop.com.
And the PDF will be there on the 15th. No matter what, no matter how you pre-order, the PDF is right there on the 15th. Nick, you said 8-year-old me thought that was dumb. I imagine you're talking about the reveal of the gun at the end of the Highlander cartoon. But then he said, 27-year-old me realized how symbolic that was. I just, you know, I love cool stuff like that. So that's one of the main reasons I wanted to throw. Another reason I wanted to throw future and modern weapons in here is because just to let people know it's okay. You know, you're not going to find any roll for advantages or anything in the book. Not to say anything negative about 5e. I love 5e, but it's very open. It's all about inspiring creative ideas inside your own brain, ideas that you already have but might not have been triggered yet.
Dude, I love that. And so if you're down with it, what I wanted to do is jump into something that is not in the sample pages that we've shared, but you mentioned that crazy big gonzo name generator. And I thought it could be kind of cool if we just jumped in there and tried some. Do you think that would be fun?
This is my favorite thing to roll on in the book. So yeah.
So in Weapon Master 1, there were roll tables of name generators. So we thought that we wanted to take that to that next evolution in the same way that we've tried to take everything up a notch. This is kind of crazy, but it's this huge bunch of tables that is supposed to be a virtually * limitless roll table to roll different weapon names on.
That's pretty limitless. I mean, if there's a limit, man, it's an outer limit that I don't think I could ever find.
It's pretty crazy.
It's got a lot of. Yep.
So the first thing you do is you have to roll the weapon name / style. And so there's this quick little template that gives you a pattern to follow. Then you go down in the lower tables and you plug those into the weapon name style. For example, if you roll a 1 or a 2, it's adjective, weapon, etc., etc. And it goes down for 12. So Barker, why don't you roll me a d12 and we'll figure out the weapon name style that we're going to use.
Okay. So this is an interesting one. This is noun of the location. So sometimes it's like weapon of the blank, right? Sword of the crossing, blade of the west. But this is, noun of the location. So we're looking at something like that. So noun of the location, who rolls the next dice?
So I'll roll the next dice. Now, this is something you can choose, or this is something you can roll for, meaning the first table is the weapon. Now, the weapon is designed so that if you're rolling on a crossbow, you get things that are more crossbow, etc. Now, you can obviously use whatever inspires you, but let's go back to that axe that we've been rolling on, and we're going to name that the sentient axe. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to roll my d12 on the axes table, and I got a 2. So it's catcher.
Oh, nice.
Right? So the next time, since it's noun of the location, now you go down to the locations table and roll a d10 and a d6 at the same time.
All right. Okay, d10 is 3, d6 is 6. So we are looking at, oh my God. Are you kidding me right now? Catcher of the Cauldron.
That's the name. Catcher of the Cauldron.
So the cauldron is the gun, right? We're going back to the axe that got shot.
How crazy!
I love that. The cauldron is the name of the gun that shot that axe. If we're doing
so, let's talk about this right now. So let's make this a crazy rivalry. Okay, we're gonna do. Let's do a different one. Let's do the fantasy firearm. So I'm gonna roll d12 for the firearm. So this is the gun that shot through Catcher of the Cauldron. It's a 4. Okay, so it's just rifle. Boom, rifle. Now, roll me a d12 to see what the weapon name style is.
Perfect. It's okay. So I rolled the weapon.
So according to this, now again, we did this on purpose. It's balanced. It's just called the rifle. Now you might be like,
it is the only rifle that can be shot through this thing.
Exactly. It's like, and now here's the way I would play this. Because let's roll up another one just so that they can see the versatility. But this is the kind of thing I used to shy away from that now I run to. Because in real life, there probably wouldn't be many, like you said, and it'd just be like, wait, who has the rifle? It's the rifle. It's the one.
Yes. Which rifle are you talking about? Idiot. It's the rifle.
The rifle.
Are you kidding?
Right? So in fact, if you want, let's be game master here. Why don't you choose a weapon name style from the table? And we'll do the same rifle again just to show the versatility of it.
Okay. I'm going to say adjective weapon of the noun. We'll just go we'll go big with it.
So roll me a d6 and a d10 for the adjective.
All right, d6 is a 6, d10 is a 6. And
okay.
So nice.
So it's a 10 and a 6. It's witching. So it's witching.
No, they're both 6s. It's 6 and 6.
Oh.
Yep.
Got it. So 6 and a 6. Ceaseless.
Oh, see, now witching would have been cool because you got cauldron going on with the other weapon.
Oh, that would be cool. So hey, that's DM rule of cool. There's plenty of stuff on there. So we'll stick to the rolls here, but that's the beauty of this table. You can get lost in it for an hour.
And so
now we just need to do the noun because it is the rifle.
Yep. And that is a 3 on the d6 and a 5 on the d10.
Perfect. So it's 5 and a 6 or 5 and a 3. It's a thief.
Nice. Oh
so this is it's adjective weapon of the noun. So it's the ceaseless rifle of the thief.
Yep. I would, you know what? this is where I'd go back and call it the witching rifle of the thief. Witching
Perfect.
rifle. I love the witching. It's rule of cool. Pick some, roll some. That's how you come up with the best ideas.
Sure. And so let's just hit some adjectives. Ageless, shattered, monstrous, shimmering, bright, holy, oozing, glittering, booming. You get the point. This roll table.
Frostborn.
Right. Boom. So that is how it works. You pick a name style, and then there are tables for weapons, adjectives, nouns, and locations, and you just mash them together. And I'm really proud of how this thing came out, and I think it's going to just be like fun to just roll those.
Yep. Other people saying like rifle through your pockets. That's a good name for it by Performance Check. Rifle through your pockets.
Very clever. Very clever.
Rifle of strife. The rifle of strifle.
Xano said, "Catcher in the rifle." Hey.
The first weapon I rolled was called the Blunderbuss of the Crossing. I think I mentioned that earlier.
You did.
And ever since I rolled it, I can't stop thinking about it. Like, where's the crossing? What is the crossing? Is the crossing in between a bridge between two realms, or are we talking an interplanar portal between two realms? That's
right. Is it a ley line? Is it a place where the markets cross? Is it a Romeo and Juliet where it's like the crossing is when you cross over from one territory to another and the houses rule? Like, oh, it's so good.
Is it the weapon that the boatman carries when it's the blunderbuss when carrying the dead to the afterlife? I mean, there's just
I love it. It's so good. And we got a couple of good questions in here. First one, what you looking at says, is there a heavy metal style? So I purposely tried to blend it half heavy metal and half different flavors, because like if this is a Dragon Grid book, it would be all heavy metal. But this is supposed to be a versatile system agnostic book that I could technically roll up something for like Lamentations of the Flame Princess, or I could roll up something for even a Star Wars game. So keeping that in mind, there's plenty of metal. Like I said, there's like Doom, Witching, Withered, there's all these like really cool, but then there's also different styles as well. So you could just stick to the metal stuff, or you could just stick to the, kind of more neutral stuff. It's up to you.
Yep. There are also in Be a Better Weapon Master 1, there were sample, we talked about name generators. In this book, there are also going to be sample names for every weapon type, basically. So you're going to, if you want to pick like, all right, I want a name that's specifically for a spear or a javelin or something like that, you go to that section, you look at the bottom, and there'll be some there for you. If you're in the middle of running a game and just need to come up with something on the fly and don't want to roll for it, there's
and to
both.
Be clear, oh, sorry. I was just going to say, to be clear, those are absolutely 100% separate from anything you're going to find on the tables. So it's more content. It's not just stuff we generated with the tables. Separate names for inspiration, and then this table if you want to generate.
Jaron says we should have put Barker in there somewhere as an adjective or a noun, or you should. The Barking Barker is a good name for a fantasy firearm, I think.
It really is, actually.
Barking, anything, yeah.
I can add that adjective. Let me find one that I don't
do it. Yeah, jump it in there, man. Jump it in there. Drop that puppy in there. Drop a Tim in there too. The Tim Barker of the Crossing is
very Timming.
Very Timming. One thing I wanted to mention here is, we're about at an hour. First of all, I want to thank everybody for joining us, and again, go over to the website at absolutetabletop.com. In the description of the Be a Better Weapon Master product, you will find the sample pages that you can download for free. You don't have to sign up for an account or anything. Just click on it and they'll open up on your browser. Thank you everyone who has gone over there just in this stream and picked up the pre-order. You're saving at least 25% when you pre-order. You're saving 25% when you pre-order the PDF, 15% when you pre-order the book. Discounted pre-orders are the jam of the week when it comes to Weapon Master 2. So.
Absolutely. So if you're not excited about this book yet, you haven't seen the sample pages in person on your screen looking at it. And I just really want to give a shout out to the artists. The beautiful new page design is by our very good friend and prolific, super talented artist, John Pintar. You'll recognize his work all the way back from the Wayward Wanderer supplement and on. He designed these page elements. He redesigned the Be a Better Game Master logo. And I worked with him to really dial this stuff in. And he did, as always, a flawless job. So when you're reading through this, just remember that John Pintar and Andre Torres took the ideas that we have and made them gorgeous and pleasing to the eye. And so I just wanted to really throw a shout out to the artists and say they are what I think kicked this book over the edge as far as making it more than a sequel, far beyond the content.
1000%, man. I agree. The especially for our statisticians in the audience who hate me for saying 1000%, but the assets of the book they blow me away. John Pintar is incredible, and we've said that a million times, and we're going to say it a million times more. You should check out John Pintar art on Facebook. Also, Andre Torres. Is that art by?
It's art of Torres.
Art of Torres.
Yep.
Check out Andre. Yep. Don't check out Andre. He's making art for us.
He actually said he's like I'm working on these as we speak.
Next book. Oh yeah, these two.
He's like, I'm working on he's doing finishing touches on some of this stuff, and it's funny because the sample, it's a handful of pages. It's a good little sample. I think, what is it, like 6 pages?
Yeah, 3 different spreads, 6 pages.
Right. So this is just this isn't even the tip of the iceberg on the art that he's providing us. Like I said, 40 plus pieces of full colored, detailed art that matches the descriptions in the book. And I am really excited to get this in everyone's hands. I'm excited to use this thing. I think I'm going to use it in the Dragon Grin game tomorrow.
I have, my favorite section, and I don't know, we're a little past an hour now, but I'll let you know my favorite section is one that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and it's about making a weapon of mass consequence. It has nothing, these aren't weapons that you're using in combat to slay these bandits. These are weapons that are story. They're all story. If they were ever used, all it would do is create a story or, remove the story entirely. And it's just an entire method on creating these world-shifting epic weapons and maybe figuring out a way to stop them and figure out a way to keep the world at peace or whatnot. And that's just a prime example of how this book is. It's not just a book of weapons anymore. Yes, you can get some awesome weapons in this book, but now you have something at your fingertips that will ensure that you never need to cancel a session or wing it from the hip with nothing. There's always going to be something in there that you can use immediately in your game that's fun and easily reskinnable.
Yeah, and I want to take this opportunity to mention the Absolute Tabletop Facebook group. That's our Facebook group where, we hang out, and there's a bunch of really positive, brilliant people in there. And there was a really good discussion about, prepping versus improv. And I think these kinds of books are really good for improv-heavy GMs because you're really not prepping. You can just flip open this book and genuinely, if you really want to just go nuts in improv, there are so many seeds of ideas throughout the entire thing that if you want to wing it entirely, save for this book, you could definitely just, lay the railroad tracks down right before the train just by scrolling through it, So I highly recommend at least checking out the sample pages on absolutetabletop.com if you haven't, because even if you don't buy the book, use these sample pages. We hope you enjoy them. Enjoy the art and let us know how it goes. Let us know how it works at your table and what your actual experience using the book was.
Absolutely. Like Tim just said, even if you're just using the samples, go to the Absolute Tabletop group and make a post telling me what your poison is. I want to know what prophecy you developed for a weapon. I want to know how you're going to use it in your next game. And I want to know when you use it. I want to know how the players react. That's we make what we use is what we've always said. And this is just a prime example of us wanting to use something that's exciting and fun, and we want to see you use it too.
Exactly. So is there anything else that you want to tell anyone listening or watching this about Be a Better Weapon Master 2?
You know what? I think the most exciting thing about it is that is what it means for all of the future books. For every Be a Better Game Master book coming out, Be a Better Weapon Master 2 is the pole vault. It's, when we were writing it with every other future book in mind, because someday I want you to be able to take be a better mystic master and create a person that's going to develop this prophecy for your weapon that's being used in this tavern brawl and be a better tavern master. I want you to be able to use all of these ideas in one and synergize them and streamline them. And Weapon Master 2 is just the perfect place to start. Thank you so much for the people who have pre-ordered it. Thank you, Jake, the guy in the dedication page. Thank you just for all of the support. It takes a lot of trust to be able to give a company your money without even having a sample page released at that time. And we absolutely remember it every single time. So thank you so much. We trust us. You are not going to regret getting this book. This book is amazing. I can't wait to use it myself. Thank you all so much. That's what I want to say. I just want to thank you guys.
That's perfect. I have nothing to add to that except I'm going to cap it all off with a Tabtarian toast. So anyone who has something to drink out there, raise your glasses with me. Sorry, I didn't tell you. Oh, you got it in your hand there, Barks. I was like, I should have told him.
Well, it's empty. It's empty so much.
Well, for anyone else, may you mend the first break. May you kill the first snake. And may you conquer everything you undertake. Sláinte. Until next time.
This coffee was so good.
It's TV coffee. The cup's too light and it clicks. It's like, Foley that out. Until next time, may your dice roll high.